Great. Well, thank you everyone for joining us this afternoon. We're very excited to have Samik Atara to be able to answer all your questions regarding LinkedIn and how to maximize the platform. My name is Esther Lanier and I'm an advisor at the Career Center. And today's agenda is really just to get again your questions answered with any concerns you may have. So we'll go ahead and get started. We'll have Samika introduce herself.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Samika. I run USC Marshall's social media as well as I started the Female Quotient chapter on USC's campus. I'm president of Try Labs, which is USC's premier startup exhibition, which has been really awesome. And I've also been working at LinkedIn with the Learning Champions for the last year now. So it's been pretty crazy, but I say all the positions that I'm in because LinkedIn Learning has really, really helped me grow and develop skills in positions that I never thought I would really have. So I've kind of been working with them to share that opportunity and help other students leverage the power that the platform offers and see a lot of different features that nobody really knows about and make sure that everyone else can stay in tune.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samika, for your time as well. And I just wanted to start off with one of the questions. You know, as an advisor, we always have students that are a little bit uneasy about how do I reach out to an alum or to an employer on LinkedIn, kind of like that cold message type of concept. What would you say students can do to feel comfortable in just starting that?
Yeah, what I do for cold messaging is normally most students want to cold message for an informational interview or to get to know more about jobs or have connections in companies. So what I really recommend is like typing the company that you want. So actually I can share my screen here. So the way I go about it is, for example, if I wanted to join a company, let's say like LinkedIn, and I wanted to work there, I would go here and I would see the jobs that they're offering. And then it automatically tells me when you go through it who I would know that is in this company, like people that have worked here. So I would go on that. Another way that I would do it is if you go to the actual, so this is where it says Ali and 13 other connections work here. So you would be able to message them. And because they're a second connection, you do get to see people do respond faster to you. And it is a lot better in that aspect. So that's one, if you have a connection with someone else. The other way is if you have a Trojan connection is always really good to see. So you can go to people and you can search employees by school or title. So here, as you can see, one of their most hires are University of Southern California. They're number 4 in terms of how many employees actually came from USC. So you can go and start looking at lots and lots of different profiles, see different jobs that they're doing, different roles, and then seeing that, oh, I want to get into marketing. He's a marketing leader. So this is a person that I want to connect with. And when you start cold messaging and you have a purpose and you have a connection and you have a reason for doing it, they're more likely to answer back. So I don't think cold messaging should just be unintentional and just as many people as you can, but really making connection with the person. Sometimes what I do is I go to someone's page and I see stuff on their featured and I will go and press see all. And then if there's an article that I really liked or a post that really meant to me, in that cold message, I'll say, hey, I really loved the article about the top 20 marketers and talks about diversity. I'm really interested in learning more and would love to get to know you. I'm a Trojan myself. And I think when you make 2 or 3 connections with the person, it is a lot easier. So that's how I go about cold messaging.
That's awesome. Just want to encourage everyone to, either unmute yourself and ask the question. We're a pretty small group right now. If you feel comfortable just typing in the question on the um, in the queue, then just please do that as well. But again, this is really meant to have a free flow conversation. There is no specific agenda, I would say, more than to just help you in addressing any concerns that you may have. So we'll just keep an eye out for any questions that may come through the chat. But in the meantime, Samika, what are some ways that you engage in the platform? Like, do you have some type of specific posts that you
Yeah, so
turn to?
I don't post myself unless there's like a really big announcement. I think it is really good that if you do post, you do get more eyes on you than other social media platforms, which is really nice. So because a lot of people don't post on LinkedIn, when you do like have the courage to post and you kind of get yourself out there, there are more people that want to engage with you, more people that look out for you. Your profile gets noticed by recruiters for sure. You get more connections, and it is a place to kind of showcase who you are as a person professionally, as well as who you are outside of that. And in terms of that, like, do you like cooking? Do you like doing art? Do you like spending time with your dogs? Do you like meditating? Kind of gives you the all-rounded personality, which is really, really good. So I use it on that. I always check to see any updates, any articles that I have. I'm always on the jobs page. Always. It is super, super helpful. They become really accustomed to like recommended for you, so you spend less and less time going through it. The first times it's pretty challenging because there's so many different options. You have to like try cities and entry levels and put in your skills, but once you use it more and more, the featured page becomes really, really good. So use it on that. I use it to message and cold message like we talked about. Another thing that I really use this platform for is LinkedIn Learning. And this is something that I'm always learning different things. Like, as you can see, like I'm already in progress of 14 different classes. And so what I like to do is, for example, if I have a job that I'm looking for, and if you go here, like let's do a job together. So this NBC Universal page, it says that I need to have a solid understanding of media landscape. I need to have advanced knowledge of Excel, well versed in Python, SQL, etc. Let's say I know almost everything, but I don't know SQL as well. And so that makes me a little nervous because I know a lot of people have good SQL skills. I'll go into right here, see SQL Essential Training. And so I'll take the class, and it's a 2-hour class, and it's very, very informative. And it's not as fast in the sense of you don't get lost in it. It's very breakable. They break it up into like 4 to 5 minutes each section. So it's very easy to stop. And you can see like this is for a beginner. And then once I get through this class, if I want to become an intermediate, then you go through the process. So I'm always on here. I try to do one new course a week because it is about 2 hours, 3 hours of the time. So this platform makes me feel like unstoppable in the sense is like there's nothing I can't learn or nothing that I can't be competitive for in a job search. So before I apply to, let's say, this position, I'll make sure to take the LinkedIn Learning course, get a certificate, put it on my profile so that they see that I'm not just saying, oh, I'm really good at Photoshop. I have the certificate of expert on Photoshop on my profile that lets recruiters know that I'm serious about it.
Yeah, and that's a great way to maintain your professional skills as well, and identifying, as you've shown us right now, the different ways that you can identify maybe gaps in skills and still make yourself marketable. So it's still part of that lifelong learning, I would say, not only because you're in school, but even after the fact as well. This will be a good practice to be comfortable with.
Yeah, and we get so LinkedIn Learning is paid in the sense of like not every student has access to it, but USC pays for LinkedIn Learning. So it is an expensive resource that we get for free. So use it, like take advantage of it is what I will say, because the people that do really, really feel more confident when they're applying to positions, and they feel more rounded. And this is the time to learn. So if you didn't get to take that like data class or that marketing class that didn't fit in your schedule, or you had not enough credits to go through it, you can still use USC's resources to learn that skill and be able to do it in chunkable amounts.
Definitely. I will put on the chat the link that comes through ITS that students can use to maximize it. But we have a question in the queue, and it's from Taryn, and it reads: if you are planning to apply to a company and want to connect with some of the current employers to find out more about the company and what they're looking for in applicants, what is the best way to reach out to the person and ask for advice to help you with applying and hopefully have them put you in a good word for you? Pretty
Yeah, I'm gonna
great
just
question.
I want to connect with some current. Yeah, so that's kind of like what, I don't know if you were here when we talked about the cold messaging, but start with people that are the connections that you have. Start with people that go to USC or like went there and have that Trojan connection. And then everybody understands, especially like with the Trojan family, I'll say 100 times, they were in your position years and years ago. They know how scary it is. They know that it's all over the place. So I would be honest. I don't think you should try to trick them or like say you'll do something and like try to go too crazy. I think you can say like, I'm really interested in like the articles that you posted. I'm really interested in this position. I would love 15 minutes of your time to understand my competitiveness for the role, or to see if this is a good fit. A good time to be is like, for example, I was in marketing and I wanted to see if I would be a good fit for consulting. So I asked a couple people on LinkedIn to see that when I'm transitioning between these two positions, do I have enough experience to make myself competitive in terms of consulting? So that's a really good way, because you are switching and it is exciting and it is a change. So really try to see like what you want out of them. Never ask for more than 10 to 15 minutes. They'll probably give you 20 to 25, but when you ask for 30 minutes of someone's time, they're less likely to like book it in their schedule. So being mindful of their time, engaging with them, liking their posts, commenting on it, really shows that you are making an effort in more ways than one. Does that help?
Yeah, definitely. So I know that, for example, with LinkedIn, it is a source for tapping into the Trojan family and being able to, one, find out what they are doing in their space of work and their expertise. So, what are some ways that you engage? I know that you said that through the calling, you can just kind of take a look at someone and go to their feature side and just kind of um, give some feedback in terms of what that article might be. But what are some ways that students can engage and just kind of, if they're not an active user of LinkedIn, for example, what could be some easy kind of, non, threatening type of form, I guess, or way that we can all just kind of feel comfortable with it?
Yeah, so I was like that a couple years ago when LinkedIn was starting. I felt it was really weird to brag about myself and be like, look, I just got a new position, or look, I just did a new skill. So that's something that I completely understand. And I'm still not 100% there yet, if I'm being honest. But what I started to do was I started to go on LinkedIn every other day, and I just started liking and clapping on other, like that's what it's called in LinkedIn when you like do a post, on other people's achievements. And I think I started to understand the tone that people were using and seeing what kinds of things that they were posting about. And just by reading other people and liking and engaging with it, that was such a small way of getting my feet wet. And then I started being comfortable in commenting. And I think something that people should understand is like, we're in a generation of social media. When you comment or like something on Instagram, like people have 400 comments or people have 10,000 likes. And it's something where you really get lost in the sea. But in LinkedIn, you don't. And most people read almost all the comments that they have, because oftentimes it's about 7, 10 comments. So people are reading it a little bit more. And if you follow recruiters and you start commenting and your name comes up a couple of times, they start familiarizing themselves. And it's a very non-intrusive way, because all you're saying is, that's amazing, or wow, that was such like insightful information, or I'm so glad you shared this information. It makes someone feel valuable. It makes someone feel that, that there are people that care. For example, like in this call, there's 9 of us total, but there's 7 people that join. It's not a really big audience. So if
Mm-hmm.
afterwards someone like says thank you, or someone says, wow, I learned, it's like, oh, I didn't waste my time. Like, oh, I did like provide insights. So if you give that feedback to recruiters, they appreciate it, because they're not getting 400 comments, or people aren't appreciating what they do every single day. So that's how you differentiate yourself. And then when you start getting familiar, then I would do LinkedIn Learning. So in the aspect of like when you complete a course, it can say like share on your profile. You're not bragging that you got it. It just automatically like says that like, oh, Samika completed Photoshop. So now if you're engaging in the recruiter, and you're commenting and your name comes up, then she's also going to start taking interest. So now when she sees like that you've completed a Photoshop, it's going on her home screen. So it is like a weird way of interacting, which is kind of good. And then once you get to that step, then you can reshare articles that you like. And so you don't even have to write any opinion on it. You can just reshare someone's post. It starts giving people an idea of what your thoughts are without you writing them, right? So if you write, like if you share an article about how important diversity is, or females that have been promoted on a accelerated rate this year, that shows that you care about it without you saying, I care about this. It also shows that you are like more like willing to share things, and you are like more community person. So that's great. Next step is then writing a little bit when you're doing the article, like giving your thoughts on it. Then it's creating your own content once a month, and then so forth, so forth. So it starts with a like, that's all I'm saying. And then you push yourself just a little bit. But if I were to tell you, go start writing blogs about yourself and everything, it seems too intimidating to even start.
Mm-hmm. And what do you say would be like the average time that we should be utilizing LinkedIn, whether we're just browsing it or being active in terms of responding to articles or not?
Yeah, I would say start off with 10 to 15 minutes every other day. And that would be on the LinkedIn actual profile. And then if you're doing LinkedIn Learning, I would do it 2 hours in the week, if that makes sense. So whether you want to do an entire course in a day, whether you want to split it up into 3 days or do like 10 minutes every day, it's really up to you. But if you dedicate 1 to 2 hours of learning new skills every week, think of how many new skills you'll learn by the end of the year. And I think it's also very motivating, because if you just say, oh, I'll learn it next week, and then next week comes and you say, oh, I'll learn it that week. But if every week you're supposed to be learning something, and that's just like a task that you put yourself, then you do become very well-rounded. So if I was you, I would spend more time developing skills than I would like engaging with other people on the platform, because those skills will give you the confidence to write yourself and show that, wow, like I have learned so much, or I have lots to share, or like my experiences have been really great.
Would you mind sharing your profile again and just kind of walking us through, let's just say someone just wants to use the LinkedIn Learning platform, right? And let's just say I want to learn more about diversity as an example. So I'm sure that there's so much content. How do you pretty much prioritize in terms of one class versus the other one? There might be a good amount of choices.
Yeah, so this is where like you can see like my certificates of like what I've done, and that you can see more. So when I go into LinkedIn Learning, so let's say I wanted to learn about like informational, like, or just like interviews, like that's a really good one, hiring and interviewing. They're 18 courses, so they don't overload you with too many aspects. So you can see that some are like 3 minutes. So it's very, very simple. And you're like, oh, I just want like to quickly understand something. And I prefer this than YouTube because you know that it's coming from like a trusted source. It's not someone who's like, oh, I tried this once and it works. It's like data and science that proves that these are the best things. And then I think like each one has a different topic. There's not multiple of the same. So this is like interviewing techniques versus this is about bias in recruiting, and then how to conduct a screening interview, hiring for the best talent. So you can really easily see in just the title which one is fascinating to you, and by the time limit of like how long it's going to take. So I don't think it's as challenging as people think to navigate in it. Or if I like do Photoshop, right? There's only 8 courses. And so from there, you can see like the levels. If I'm a beginner, like these are all the beginner classes, and now there's only like 6 options or 4 options to do it. And these are like really, really good. And this is like on quick starter, learning the basics, or like photography design. So it is something really, really cool. And what's great is a lot of people think that LinkedIn is just for business students. It's not, right? You can learn design on it. You can learn, like, I know a lot of people in the cinematic arts school are learning the gaming technology of Unreal. You can learn how to build video games. You can learn how to create art pieces. It's truly, truly for every single person.
We have a question in the chat, and it reads, is there a way to find recruiters? Should I be targeting companies I'm interested in and look at staff and position titles?
Yeah, so there is a really easy way actually to do that. So if you go to, if you type campus recruiter, right? So you can even see, well, no, that's a job title, sorry. Let's go back. So if I say Amazon campus recruiter, and you like see in results, it'll show you senior campus recruiter at Amazon, and there'll be multiple people. So now I can see like this is a third connection, so I'll probably not be able to message them, but see this person is a second connection, so I can connect with them and send them a message personalizing something that I like for them, something that I want to talk about. So it is really an easy way to find campus recruiter, and you can do that for any position, any company that you have.
Yeah, there's other ways too to connect with the companies. It's been following them, following their groups as well.
Yeah.
So you can find ways to engage with the companies. A lot of times the recruiters, the recruiters are there to meet the needs of the company. They're not really there to, help you find a job per se. They're there for a very specific scouting position. So it will be helpful that if you do approach a recruiter, that you are mindful of their time, and that you're very specific in terms of, as Samika is saying, the skills. It's really important to be able to bring forth to the employer and connect with them too.
And there's a life section that most companies have that people don't read. Like Life at Amazon, for example, it talks about their mission, their core values, interviewing tips, photos that they have, and they keep updating it. So this is something that you will start to see, like, for example, when you're recruiting, people are like, why do you like this company over that company? And sometimes they all kind of blend together, and you're like, oh, well, they're a top tech company and everybody likes like inclusion and everybody wants diversity and all of that stuff. But these life pages really start feeling different. They start feeling different things, that like core values are a little bit different. And so I really recommend, when you're even talking with the recruiter, saying like, oh, I like really love like the leadership principles of Amazon. They're 14, right? This one, Learn and Be Curious, really resonates with me. I'd love to set up a call with you and talk to you a little bit more about how I can like better represent that in my cover letter. So it is like a really specific question that people do like, but if you're like, oh, like I need help with getting a job, like they don't have time for that. So it is, like she said, being mindful of time, but also trying to be as specific as possible.
One question in the chat is, are there keywords, generally speaking, that you have found recruiters gravitate towards when searching for candidates on LinkedIn?
Every job is different. So like we mentioned earlier, like when you go into a job, they have those descriptions, right? So if you can try to mimic your profile to the descriptions, it really, really does help. So for example, if you go to jobs, LinkedIn, like let's say this one right here, it says like build pipelines and strong relationships. It says be proactive and solving problems. So in your bio, you can say I've always been proactive and love creative thinking and solving problems. So that's one way. And then if you could put like digital marketing in like one of your internships last semester and all of that stuff, the keywords change. And that's kind of, like I said, like every company is a little bit different. They will want different candidates. So what I would recommend doing is finding 2 or 3 of your dream positions, right? And then making sure you hit all of those on your actual LinkedIn page. And then once you get that, you start tailoring your resume a little bit based on the other applications that you have, but your LinkedIn profile should really be your dream 3 companies that you tailor it, because you can't keep changing that on the profile that you have created, because your jobs are going to constantly change and they're going to look at your profile at different times. So that's not as easy, but it is important to kind of show that overall picture.
So in the about section of LinkedIn, that's one space that, you know, as candidates, we can be able to include all those keywords, I would say, you know, because
Yeah.
that's kind of gives you the voice that the resume at the end, or the content of your resume, it's pretty much your experience. But the about section is really a great place that you can bring that forth in terms of the different terminology or that the companies are using in terms of finding their perfect candidate, I would say.
Yeah, and it is like when you go into your profile, it's a story, right? Like
Yeah.
it's something that really develops. So, for example, like my experience in a company on my resume, I can't write all of this, but on LinkedIn, it's endless, right? And so on my resume, I have 3 of these bullet points, but might as well put 5 in here. Like, might as well write a paragraph that people don't see about what it's like to work there and what these bullet points really meant in live action, right? So I do that for a lot of them, and it is kind of cool to be able to see that.
So LinkedIn does definitely give you that platform to be as creative as you want, I would say, in terms of how you want to present your experience. It's not just, the old way of thinking of just cut and paste your bullet points from your resume onto the platform here.
And
So
right here, like you can also plug them in into skills. So like we talked about, like if they say like Excel skills, like then you have it here. And honestly, this like is good because it's a computer algorithm at the end of the day that kind of helps with it. But like this doesn't mean as much as like this license and certificate, because LinkedIn has tests, LinkedIn has projects. So this means more of like, oh, you're not just saying, like I could right now say like I'm the best design, like I have Illustrator skills and I've never opened Illustrator, like which is like an Adobe software. I could keep lying as much as I want here, but in this, nobody can really lie. And so that's what recruiters are tending towards leaning. And not just LinkedIn, like I know this is a LinkedIn workshop, but having certificates in Amazon Web Services, having certificates in Google Analytics, like you can use them in LinkedIn, but you can also get that certificate elsewhere. But proof is like super, super important now in recruiting as well. So I really recommend that aspect.
any more questions from our audience today? Anything else that you find that you're still not quite comfortable with utilizing? I know that Samika shared a wealth of key tips that we can all implement when utilizing LinkedIn. All right, so once we graduate and lose the LinkedIn learning function, would you suggest posting free course certifications to achieve the same effect? I would say so, yeah.
Yeah, I would. I think we get it for 6 months after we graduate as well. I'm not sure what the cutoff is, but I know it doesn't end exactly the day that we graduate.
Right. I try to access it until the system says you no longer have any access to it.
Yeah.
Because it's the registrar's office that will take away the student access, I would say.
Yeah, and your profile won't go away. But that's why I'm saying, like, I'm a senior last semester. I try and learn new skills because I know that this resource is going to go away one day, and college is a time to really learn. So I really want everybody else to take advantage of it too.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's the gift that keeps on giving, that's for sure. And it's a great practice because, once you're in the workforce, it's pretty much about same, habit of keeping up your skill sets and whatever interests you, so that's, for a lifelong learning, I would say. Any other questions? I mean, we've tapped into cold messaging, the questions tapped into the job search, we tapped into posting, ways to engage, and the learning skills and different forms to go about it. Is there anything else that that we should know, or that students here, you know, any tip or trick that has helped you, I would say?
Yeah, I think we have another question on here, and that can
Did I?
be a good way to kind of wrap here. Let me share my screen. So yeah, it does show, for example, there's like this profile, for example, it's someone who posts a lot, right? You can tell already with the banner image that he's a marketer and a blogger, and he's a lot of fun to do it. His about section is full of like emojis and bullet points. He posts a lot of content, things that really mean a lot for him. He started his series. He has a lot of activity that has on. He posts in his experience sections PowerPoints and links that kind of go through it. So yeah, you can have a lot of personality with your LinkedIn profile, and that comes with using it more and more and more. And it tailors a little bit as well. Recommendations is also super helpful if you have other people that give it, like your honors and awards, your interests, right? Like you can have like Disney, you can have cooking, you can have Mark Cuban. So you can tell a story from your page. A lot of people don't, right? Like you can go into like a random person's profile and know nothing about them, and that's up to them. And so that's why I encourage taking these baby steps to then one day kind of become like this, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is definitely a visual platform, and it's a great way to brand yourself, and whichever way that happens to be for every one of us. So yeah, well, this is all that we had in terms of our intent of wanting to have this meeting with you guys today, just to be in this kind of open forum discussion, to be able to ask any questions you may have. We don't want to take any more time, more of Samika's time, but please let us know if you have any more questions to the chat. If not, we'll just be pretty much signing off in the next 2 minutes or so, if that's okay.
Yeah, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. If you ever have any questions, let me know. Always here.
Yeah, definitely. I think that all the different suggestions you provided today are going to go a long way, and hopefully it's a starting point to become comfortable with it. Yeah.
That's great.
Great. So, all right. So we'll sign off, and thank you again, Samika. And
anytime.
I know that you will be able to be a successful Trojan pretty soon.
Thank you.
All right. You take care, Samika. Bye-bye.